In a peaceful, small town in the United States, 12-year-old Michael lived an ordinary life with his parents and younger sister. Their family, like so many others, felt the heavy burden of growing uncertainty, soaring prices, divided communities, and a world that seemed increasingly unstable. But one cold winter evening, their lives took an unimaginable turn. While sitting at the dinner table, Michael suddenly collapsed. His parents were thrown into panic, frantically calling for help as he lay lifeless, his heart no longer beating. Doctors fought valiantly to bring him back, but for nearly 10 minutes, Michael was clinically dead. Yet during those precious moments, he encountered something so extraordinary that it would not only transform his family, but also send ripples across the world. Michael returned from the brink with an astonishing message from Jesus himself, a warning about 2025, a glimpse into humanity's future, and a powerful lesson on how to change course before it's too late. Before we go any further, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. And if you love Jesus as much as we do, be sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss inspiring content like this. As Michael began sharing his experience, he vividly described the first moments after his collapse. He remembered the sensation of floating weightlessly, looking down at his own lifeless body. Seeing himself lying motionless on the floor sent a jolt of disbelief through him. He could hear his mother's desperate cries, his father frantically calling for help, and his younger sister softly whispering prayers she had learned in Sunday school. Yet, despite the chaos, Michael felt no fear or pain. Instead, an overwhelming sense of calm enveloped him, a serenity he struggled to put into words. The world around him seemed distant and muted, almost unreal, as if he had been lifted into another dimension. He saw his parents kneeling by his side, their faces streaked with tears, but he couldn't touch them. A mysterious force, gentle yet irresistible, began pulling him upward. Michael then recounted being drawn into a tunnel, a shimmering vortex of light that radiated warmth and comfort. Around him, faint whispers echoed softly, as if coming from unseen souls. The voices weren't frightening, they were soothing and purposeful. One voice spoke clearly, "You're not done yet." Another followed saying, "You must remember everything you see." Confusion swirled in Michael's mind. Why him? Why now? What was happening? As the light grew brighter, Michael found himself carried to a breathtaking place beyond anything he could have imagined. The darkness dissolved, giving way to a golden expanse that shimmered like sunlight dancing on water. A profound sense of peace washed over him, dissolving all fear and doubt. He felt an intense desire to stay in that radiant realm forever, but a subtle urgency stirred in the background, a feeling that his journey there had a greater purpose. Michael recalls that, while this heavenly realm radiated peace, there was something deeper waiting for him, something critical that he needed to witness and share with the world. "There was a purpose for me being there," he later told his family. "It wasn't random. I had to see it, and I had to bring back a message." At this moment, Michael sensed an extraordinary presence drawing closer. He couldn't see a face at first, but he felt it, an overwhelming sense of unconditional love and immense authority. The light surrounding him intensified, and he instinctively knew he was about to encounter something divine. The whispers that had guided him earlier fell silent, replaced by the steady, rhythmic sound of his own heartbeat. Though he didn't fully understand what was happening, he realized this journey had only just begun. Guided by a force that felt both powerful and gentle, Michael moved forward, instinctively knowing that what lay ahead was vital. As the warm light enveloped him, all fear vanished. Instead, a profound sense of purpose took its place. He knew he was being drawn toward a truth that would forever reshape his understanding of life, faith, and the world. For Michael, this was only the beginning, an introduction to a message destined for humanity in 2025, revealed directly by Jesus himself. Michael's voice softens as he describes the next part of his journey. Emerging from the radiant tunnel, he found himself standing in a place that could only be described as heaven. Golden clouds floated beneath his feet like soft pillows, and the air shimmered with a brilliant, ethereal glow. The sky stretched endlessly, vibrant yet weightless. Each breath Michael took filled him with indescribable peace and uncontainable joy. It felt like home, Michael explains. I felt like I belonged there. While marveling at the breathtaking beauty around him, Michael noticed a figure approaching. At first, the light surrounding this figure was so bright that its details were impossible to make out. But as the figure came closer, Michael recognized him. It was Jesus. His presence was both humble and awe-inspiring. He wore flowing white robes and radiated a pure, brilliant light so powerful that Michael had to shield his eyes. Yet, even with such overwhelming majesty, Michael felt no fear, only love. Jesus greeted him with a warm smile and spoke in a voice that carried both commanding authority and gentle kindness. "Michael, my child," he began, "you have been chosen to deliver an important message." As Jesus rested his hand on Michael's shoulder, vivid visions began to appear all around them. Michael saw the earth, cities bustling with life, forests swaying in the wind, and oceans glimmering under the sun. But something was wrong. Scenes of devastation unfolded, fires engulfing towns, floods destroying homes, and people divided, consumed by anger and fear. Michael's heart broke, and tears streamed down his face. "Why are you showing me this?" he asked, his voice trembling. Jesus answered with a tone filled with compassion and urgency. "These are visions of a world that has forgotten love, faith, and unity. But there is still hope. You must tell them to prepare, to turn their hearts back to God and to each other. Only through faith, kindness, and forgiveness can humanity overcome what lies ahead." Though his heart felt heavy with the weight of what he had seen, Michael nodded. Jesus reassured him, "Do not be afraid. You are never alone. I am with you always." Before Michael's time in heaven ended, Jesus placed his hand over Michael's heart, filling him with an incredible warmth. A surge of strength and purpose coursed through his entire being. He felt renewed, ready to return, no matter how difficult it would be to share what he had experienced. Michael's mind swirled with the vivid images Jesus shared, visions of both destruction and redemption. The stark contrast between despair and hope filled him with an urgent sense of purpose. As he continued to watch, the future unfolded like a story with two paths, one of devastation caused by humanity's division and neglect, and another of restoration driven by love, faith, and unity. The first set of visions haunted him. Entire cities, once vibrant with life, were now empty shells. In one, he saw a bustling downtown turned into a wasteland of shattered glass and crumbling walls. Floodwaters rose, consuming neighborhoods, while lightning illuminated the fear on people's faces. Hurricanes tore through communities, uprooting trees and scattering homes. Fires swept through forests, reducing them to ash, and the air was thick with smoke. In these moments, Michael recognized landmarks, places he had seen on family trips, now unrecognizable under the weight of destruction. Amid this chaos, the faces of people stayed with him. Mothers clutching their children, fathers desperately searching for safety, and children crying for help, all marked by fear and despair. He saw arguments break out in crowded shelters, people hoarding supplies, and neighbors turning against one another. It was not just nature wreaking havoc. It was humanity's growing disconnection and distrust. When Michael asked Jesus if this grim future was inevitable, Jesus' answer brought a glimmer of hope. "No, my child, it is not too late. These challenges are not punishments, they are calls to awaken. Humanity has been given the power to choose love over fear, unity over division. Jesus then showed Michael a different set of visions, ones filled with light and hope. These scenes felt like a breath of fresh air after the suffocating darkness. Communities that had once been fractured came together, rebuilding their homes and lives with an extraordinary sense of purpose. Strangers became family, sharing what little they had. People turned to prayer, and through their collective faith, miracles unfolded. Michael saw a vision of a man standing in a field, his home destroyed by a storm. Around him, neighbors worked tirelessly to help rebuild what had been lost. Despite his circumstances, the man smiled, his heart filled with gratitude for the love shown by others. In another vision, Michael saw a hospital where doctors and nurses prayed together before treating their patients. Miraculous recoveries took place, defying medical explanations. Jesus explained, "This is the power of unity and faith. When people come together with love in their hearts, they invite my presence, and where I am, miracles happen." One of the most powerful visions Michael saw was of thousands of people gathered in a field under a stormy sky. Their hands were raised in prayer, their voices united in hope. As they prayed, the dark clouds began to break apart, and golden sunlight poured down, illuminating the land. Prayer, Jesus said, is not just words. It is an act of faith that shifts hearts and transforms the world. These hopeful scenes filled Michael with a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that while the challenges ahead were great, the solution lay in the simple yet profound acts of love, faith, and community. Humanity's destiny wasn't fixed, it was a choice. And Michael had been chosen to carry this message, to remind the world that even in the darkest times, redemption and light were always within reach. With those final words, Michael felt himself being drawn away from the brilliance of heaven. The radiant light began to fade, replaced by a gentle pull that seemed to guide him back through the tunnel of light he had first entered. Though his heart ached at the thought of leaving, he held on to Jesus' words like an anchor, knowing his mission was just beginning. As he moved through the tunnel, he felt the warmth of Jesus' love still burning within him, a constant reassurance that he was not alone. He could hear faint echoes of the angelic song, a melody that seemed to promise hope and renewal. When the light dimmed completely, Michael awoke in his earthly body, gasping as though he had been reborn. The world felt different now, more vivid, more alive. Colors seemed brighter, and the air carried a sense of purpose. Michael's mind raced with the visions he had been shown, the words Jesus had spoken, and the incredible peace he had felt. Though he was back in his hospital bed, surrounded by the beeping of machines and concerned faces, he felt no fear, only a deep resolve. He turned to his family, who were weeping with relief at his return. Taking his wife's hand, he whispered, "I have something to tell you. Something that will change everything." Michael spent the next hours recounting his experience in heaven, sparing no detail. He described the breathtaking beauty of the divine realm, the visions of both despair and hope, and the urgent message Jesus had entrusted to him. His words carried a conviction that left his family awestruck. Though some were skeptical, most could feel the truth in his voice and the light in his eyes. In the days that followed, Michael began sharing his story with others, starting with his local church and expanding to communities near and far. He spoke with a passion that could not be ignored, urging people to reconnect with their faith, to forgive, and to embrace love as the guiding force in their lives. Some ridiculed him, dismissing his experience as a hallucination or a fabrication, but Michael was undeterred. "I know what I saw," he told them, "and I know the power of the message I carry. We are not alone. We are loved beyond measure, and we have the power to heal the world." Word of Michael's experience began to spread, inspiring others to reflect on their own lives and choices. People who had been estranged from their families sought reconciliation. Neighbors who had been at odds found ways to support one another. Communities began organizing prayer gatherings, drawing strength and unity from the shared hope that change was possible. As time passed, Michael saw the seeds of transformation take root. Though the challenges Jesus had shown him still loomed, the acts of kindness, forgiveness, and faith he witnessed reassured him that humanity could rise to the occasion. He often closed his talks with the same reminder Jesus had given him: "You are never alone. Love is your greatest strength, and faith is the light that will guide you through the darkness." And so, Michael lived his life as a messenger of hope, carrying the warmth of heaven within him and sharing its light with a world in need. Though the path was not always easy, he held on to the promise Jesus had made: "I am with you always." Michael took a shaky breath, his voice barely above a whisper. "He showed me things about the future. He said the world is facing hard times, but it's not the end. He told me we still have a chance to change. We have to love each other more, forgive, and have faith." His mother's tears flowed freely as she held his hand tightly, hanging on every word. He said, "We're not alone," Michael continued. "No matter how dark it gets, Jesus is with us. He's waiting for us to come back to him." The room grew quiet as the weight of his words settled over everyone. Even the skeptical doctors and nurses couldn't ignore the conviction in Michael's voice. Though just a boy, he spoke with the wisdom and peace of someone who had seen a glimpse of eternity. In the days that followed, Michael's story spread. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers came to visit, eager to hear what he had to say. Some listened out of curiosity, while others sought the comfort of his message. Michael never wavered in his purpose, repeating the same truths Jesus had entrusted to him. "It's not too late," he said again and again. "We have to change the way we live, help one another, forgive what seems unforgivable, and trust in God's plan. The storms I saw, the fires, the division, it's all a chance for us to wake up, to become better." People began to change. Families who had been divided for years found ways to reconcile. Neighbors who had barely spoken started helping each other in small but meaningful ways. Churches saw a surge in attendance, not out of fear, but out of a renewed hope and desire to reconnect with God. Though some dismissed Michael's story, calling it a dream or a child's imagination, he never let their doubts deter him. "I don't need them to believe me," Michael told his mother one day. "I just need to share the message. The rest is up to them and God." As Michael grew stronger, he became a beacon of light to his community. His unwavering faith and his powerful testimony inspired people to look inward and rediscover what truly mattered. And though he often missed the peace and beauty of heaven, Michael carried Jesus' words in his heart: "You are my messenger. Do not be afraid. I am with you always." Years later, Michael would reflect on his experience, still vividly etched in his memory. Though life continued to bring challenges, he never lost the peace and purpose that Jesus had given him. For Michael knew, beyond any doubt, that no matter how dark the world might seem, love, faith, and hope would always shine through the darkness. Michael's story continued to ripple through the world, sparking a movement of love, forgiveness, and faith. People began to reflect deeply on their lives, relationships, and priorities. Churches filled with individuals seeking hope, while families and communities found healing through acts of kindness and understanding. One of the most extraordinary moments came during a live television interview with Michael. A skeptical journalist asked, "Michael, many people think this is just a hallucination, a dream caused by your medical condition. How can you be so sure it was real?" Michael paused, his calm and radiant demeanor captivating everyone watching. "Because of the love," he replied. "The love I felt there was unlike anything on earth. It wasn't just a feeling, it was alive. surrounding me, filling me. And Jesus said, "Take this love back to them. I'm not asking anyone to believe me. I'm just sharing the truth I was given." The sincerity in his voice touched millions. After the interview aired, messages flooded in from viewers whose lives had been profoundly changed. A woman in Germany, estranged from her sister for decades, decided to call her and reconcile. A young man in Brazil, battling depression, found the courage to reach out for help after hearing Michael's message of hope. In time, even those who had been skeptical began to see the undeniable impact of Michael's testimony. A well-known scientist publicly admitted that while he could not explain what had happened, the outcomes were real and measurable. "People are changing," he said. There's no doubt that Michael's words have sparked something profound. Michael himself remained humble through it all. He often reminded others, "It's not about me, I'm just a messenger." The real power comes from love, forgiveness, and faith in God. 1 year after his near-death experience, Michael organized a global day of prayer and community service. Millions participated, coming together to feed the hungry, build homes, and comfort the lonely. That day, reports of unexplainable phenomena, bright lights in the sky, spontaneous healings, and an overwhelming sense of peace came from every corner of the globe. Michael, now stronger and wiser, stood before a crowd of thousands at the event's closing ceremony. "This isn't the end," he said. "It's the beginning. The future isn't written yet. Together we can create a world where love overcomes fear, forgiveness conquers hate, and faith lights the way. Remember, Jesus said, 'I am with you always.' Let's not waste the gift we've been given." As he spoke, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing the crowd in a golden glow. For many, it felt like a sign, a reminder of the divine love Michael had been sent to share. And from that day forward, the world moved just a little closer to the future he had envisioned, one filled with hope, unity, and the unshakable presence of faith. These events spread like ripples across the country, inspiring others to take action. Prayer groups grew larger, churches overflowed with worshippers, and people began sharing their own stories of spiritual awakening. Social media became flooded with messages of hope, tagged with phrases like "Change starts with us" and "Jesus is always near." What made Michael's message so powerful was its simplicity. He didn't speak of grand gestures or impossible acts. Instead, he focused on the small, everyday actions that make a difference. Forgiving someone who has wronged you, helping a neighbor in need, and reconnecting with faith. "Jesus told me that even the smallest act of love can change the world," Michael said. People who had spent years feeling hopeless or disconnected began to experience a shift. Families who had been broken by anger and resentment reunited. Individuals who had been trapped in cycles of fear and negativity found peace. The miracles weren't always grand, but they were real, and for those who experienced them, they were life-changing. Even skeptics couldn't ignore the impact of Michael's story. Reporters, scientists, and theologians tried to explain what had happened, but no one could deny the effect it was having on people's lives. "Whether you believe in heaven or not, you can't argue with the hope this boy has given people," one journalist remarked. Michael remained humble through it all, always pointing back to Jesus. "This isn't about me," he would say. "It's about all of us coming together. Jesus gave us a second chance, and it's up to us to use it." The signs and miracles that followed Michael's return were undeniable. They were proof that his message was not just a story, it was a call to action. People who chose to listen and believe found themselves transformed, their faith renewed, and their hearts filled with hope. As one pastor put it, Michael reminded us of something we all knew deep down but had forgotten. Love is stronger than fear, and faith can move mountains. In the weeks and months that followed Michael's return, his message spread far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Churches saw an influx of people seeking faith and connection. communities that had once been divided began to come together, working to create positive change. Michael's words had ignited a movement of hope, unity, and action. For Michael's family, the experience was both a miracle and a profound responsibility. His parents, who had been overwhelmed with grief during his collapse, now saw their son as a messenger of God's love. They watched in awe as their quiet, ordinary boy spoke with a wisdom and confidence that could only be described as divine. Michael's story became a symbol of hope in a world filled with uncertainty. His message reached people of all walks of life, rich and poor, young and old, believers and non-believers. He didn't speak to divide or judge. He spoke to inspire. Jesus loves everyone, Michael would remind people. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. He's waiting for you to turn back to him. The impact of Michael's message was far-reaching. Schools began teaching kindness and empathy as core values. Families prioritized time together, focusing on love and forgiveness. Communities started organizing volunteer efforts, helping those in need and supporting one another through difficult times. But Michael's message was not without its challenges. Some people doubted him, dismissing his experience as the product of a child's imagination. Others ridiculed his visions, claiming they were fear-mongering. Yet Michael never wavered. He simply repeated the words Jesus had spoken to him. "Do not be afraid, love one another, and I will be with you." As time went on, people began to see the truth in Michael's warning and the hope in his message. The storms he had described, the natural disasters, the conflicts, the uncertainty, began to unfold in ways that were impossible to ignore. Yet those who had listened and prepared found themselves stronger, more united and more resilient. Michael's story became a legacy, a reminder that no matter how dark the world may seem, there is always light to guide the way. His message was clear. The future is not fixed. We have the power to change it, but we must start now. People across the country and around the world began sharing his words, spreading love and faith like a flame that could not be extinguished. Michael reminded us that hope isn't lost, one woman said. We just have to believe in it again. For Michael, the journey was far from complete. Though he had returned from the brink of death with a profound message, he understood that his mission was only beginning. He continued to share his voice, to inspire countless hearts, and to remind everyone of life's true essentials: faith, love, and unity. Ultimately, Michael's story wasn't merely about visions or warnings. It was a testament to the power of redemption, the beauty of hope, and the reassurance that even in the darkest moments, we are never truly alone. The words of Jesus resonated deeply within the hearts of all who heard them. Love one another, and I will be with you always. Michael's enduring legacy stands as a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit, the transformative power of faith, and the vision of a brighter future for all.